All right. So, Patrick, what do we got for this week in trading history?
So this week in trading history, I want to go way back.
I know 1500s?
Yeah, we're going back 500 plus years and to the birth. It was February 24th of the year 1500 that Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor, it should not empire. That's a typo there. The emperor. It's not so holy and definitely not Roman. But
he's looking good in his tights, though.
He is.
Yeah.
But it's
better than I'm going to look in my shorts.
He was born and he ruled over one of the biggest empires in history, only behind the likes of Genghis Khan. And
Genghis Khan?
Yeah. I don't even know how to pronounce it right.
No, you don't.
And so the point, though, is he not only ruled over most of Europe, but he, including the domain of Spain, but he laid claim to almost all of the New World of Americas outside of Brazil. And so he ended up being the king that managed to pretty much bankrupt his state. Which is impressive because he had access to all of the gold and silver of the New World, and that's where we're going to go with the story, and including the Renaissance banking fortunes of the Netherlands, all at his disposal. And ultimately, him being crippled with gout and malaria, died at age 58, ended up defaulting on massive amounts of Spanish debts to their creditors. And so this is where I want to go with the story. So he was obviously he ruled over a huge, massive part of the world. But I want to go back to the story of the Money Mountain in Peru, which is modern day Bolivia. And the Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro and 160 men on their horses captured the last Inca emperor, this Atahualpa. I think this is the right pronunciation.
Oh my God, this is just
the point, though.
a gong show.
Yeah, it's a gong show of names whenever you get me started up with beer. But the point is that trying to buy his freedom, he filled the room he was being held in one time with gold and twice with silver. Of course, that didn't help because Pizarro ended up executing him anyway. But it really built a thirst for precious metals that invigorated the Spanish to explore South America considerably. And it led to this amazing little circumstance. So this Indian named Diego Galupa discovered the 5 great seams of silver in the Money Mountain in 1545 during Charles V's rule. And the Spaniards ultimately enforced a system of forced labor, conscription of all the natives to actually mine these massive silver shafts. And the mortality amongst these miners was horrendous. The new Silver City Rush was named the mouth of hell. It was said that every silver peso coin minted had cost the lives of 10 Indians. It was nuts, but it was such a huge project that the city of Potosi had a population of almost 200,000 people, which is larger than most European cities at the time. This was a huge Spanish endeavor and incredibly important to Charles V and his building of his empire. But all of this silver could not tame the rebellious Dutch or secure England for him. And ultimately, like King Midas, Charles V found an abundance of gold and silver could be a curse as much as a blessing. So they dug up so much silver to pay for their wars of conquest that the metal itself dramatically declined in its value. That is to say, the purchasing power with respect to other goods. That word inflation, right, Kev? I knew we were going to trigger you here. Basically,
trigger alert.
Trigger alert. Kev's been triggered. I said the word inflation. And ultimately, during the so-called price revolution that affected Europe from 1540 to 1640, the cost of food, which showed no inflation for 300 years before, suddenly rose remarkably. So in England, there was some of the best data records kept for that, but the cost of living increased by a factor of 7 over 100 years.
That doesn't sound that bad.
Well, the point is it was revolutionary for that time for amongst the peasants and stuff. The point is the silver acted like a resource curse for the Spanish, basically removing incentives for more productive economic activity, and at the same time strengthening their rent-seeking autocrats at the expense of the people. Ultimately, the Spaniards failed to understand that the value of the precious metal was not absolute, and that money was only worth what someone is willing to give you for it.
Oh.
Right? Like this is
Patrick, this is you trying to be like all wise and
yes. So the point though is that the money supply did not make the society richer. Finding all that silver didn't make the society richer, though it did enrich the government that monopolized the production of that money.
Oh, God.
Are we getting a little MMT here?
Oh, God. I don't know.
Monetary expansion was really monetary dilution and a hidden transfer of wealth.
So you basically been saving this story because you want to just like put some jabs into me, right?
Well, listen, I mean, I think this is a great lesson in history.
Oh, yeah. You know what's better is let's just try to deflate our way to prosperity as well. Actually, Patrick, I want to say one thing. I didn't understand the word conquistador.
Yeah.
I didn't actually know what that was. So I Googled it while you were chatting.
Uh-oh.
Do you know what it is?
It's like those people that go conquering, right?
Yeah, well, first of all, I thought it was just a Procol Harum song. Because it's like one of their better, actually underrated band. You know, Whiter Shade of Pale is what everyone knows, but Conquistador is a terrific song. It's actually, listen to this. It's from the Spanish or Portuguese word for conqueror, which you're correct, but they were the knights, soldiers, and explorers of the Spanish Empire and the Portuguese Empire. During the Age of Discovery, conquistadors sailed beyond Europe to the Americas, Oceania, Africa, and Asia, conquering territory and opening trade routes. Yeah. They colonized much of the world for Spain and Portugal in the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Patrick, you're just like a wealth of information for me. I learned all this crap.
Silver,
I have to listen to your
mountain.
I have to listen to all your crap about diluting the money supply and stuff. But otherwise, I still enjoy it.
Well, it's important to learn from history, and clearly you have not. But we're working on educating. Just kidding. All right. Anyway, time to move on.